All right, folks, welcome in to episode 204 of Yankees Unloaded. I am Jake Ellenbogen. He is Gary Sheffield Jr. I'm glad to be back, and I want to give a shout out to the one and only Gary Sheffield Jr. for holding it the hell down last episode. I thought you did a great job. I watched it.
Thanks, man.
He's not going to, say, oh, yeah, I was so good, so I'll say it for him.
My mom told me. My mom told me how good I was. She tells me that anyway. But I guess, obviously, it was kind of weird doing it by myself. I'm happy you're back. But interestingly enough, the entire premise of that show was what Aaron Boone was going to do with Devin Williams. And I think a lot of people were upset, right? What are we doing with this guy? Is he going to continue to ruin games until early August, and then we're going to throw this roll up for grabs for Luke Weaver to take it? No. We're going to wait till the following day. We're going to get the next day off, and then Luke Weaver is your closer again. Maybe they didn't state that exactly, but it's exactly what happened, Jake. So thankful we're not looking at the Clay Holmes experience part 2. This has been completely different. I think Aaron Boone, to some degree, you have to learn from your mistakes. I think he learned from this mistake. I think some folks in our audience sort of brought that up, and we're not doing it. So good news. Yankees come into today. A lot of momentum. You want to see what Max Fried, our ace. Garrett Cole obviously out for the year. He is our ace. No question about it. Doesn't really matter what Rodon's doing. This dude gives you a quality start every time out. Today, Jake goes 6 full innings, 6 hits, 1 earned. And for those of you who watched, it wasn't pretty the entire time. You're talking about a 30-pitch first inning. It was rugged. But like aces do, he made adjustments and stayed into this game, gives us 6 full. And then you're talking about giving the offense an opportunity now to take over the game. They did exactly that. It ended up being a fest. So you got to love that. You end up seeing De Los Santos. Is this not De Los Meatballs?
No, this is Yeri De Los Santos. So he actually, at one point or another, Gary, he was supposed to make the roster.
Okay.
So I don't know what happened there. I think they acquired that one guy right before. Oh, it was the guy from the Dodgers who gives like 2 innings. I'm blanking on his name.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's really hard to keep up because the names are just strikingly similar. So clearly not De Los Meatballs. Obviously, you saw Tyler Matzik, I believe the former Atlanta Brave, throwing that final inning in garbage time. Garbage, as the kids like to call it. But I want to talk about It
was Yarbrough, by the way, who cost Yeri De Los Santos the
job.
So
okay,
they didn't think they'd get Yarbrough. So he became available, and then there was like, I guess he was supposed to re-sign, or he was supposed to go back to the Dodgers or whatever. And then it fell through, and then he came back to the Yankees, or he went to the Yankees. So
sure,
yeah. So De Los Santos was supposed to be on the roster. He was their designated 27th man today. I like that they do that. I just think the 26-man roster makes no sense, but that's a whole other topic.
Yeah. So I guess the main hitter topic for today being this closer situation.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Boone? Because obviously this is the toughest job in baseball. I know that people were down the back of Dave Roberts, but it's pretty lax over there in LA. I know that they're a huge fan base. They're a global brand. You see what's going on in Japan. The numbers in the World Series spoke for themselves. It wasn't just the Yankees being in the World Series. It was the Dodgers and that whole brand. But being the Yankees manager is tough. Very difficult. People are hypercritical in April, and rightfully so. That's what you're signing up for. Okay. Meatballs was Enyel De Los Santos. It's the same name. It's literally the same name. Anyway, obviously Boone knows everyone's going to be a hindsight Hank here. If I pull someone 2 weeks late, people are going to talk about how long it took me to pull the guy, right? If I don't pull him at all, and then all of a sudden everything starts to work out on its own, the player just gets better, well, then everyone's just going to hindsight Hank again and say, well, we always thought it was going to work out. It was the obvious choice. So what are your thoughts on Boone? Because I want to give him some credit. This is not working. It wasn't working. And frankly, the entire media experience was a nightmare, in my opinion, just short and sweet. What'd you think about this, Jake?
I liked everything about this. I love the answers that Devin Williams gave following it. You know, I'm not doing my job. I understand. You have to earn. I love the way he said that. You have to earn being the closer. In a way, I know he didn't probably mean it this way, but he is kind of, paying homage, I guess, to the job that Luke Weaver did last year without even realizing it, maybe. I mean, Luke Weaver earned the closer role, and he earned the closer role to go into this year. Now, I was totally of the belief it made the most sense to go with Devin Williams. I think he offered more. He's built as your prototypical closer. And in a weird way, Luke Weaver's almost too good to be a closer because he can go 2 innings.
Agreed.
But that said, I do think this is the smart move. And this is Aaron Boone, who is he's still a younger manager. And I don't think people are going to always understand that when I say that. He's been a manager for a while. He's still considered one of the younger managers in baseball. He's not like Bobby Cox, right? He's not Joe Torre. So he's still learning. And I know that sounds crazy, but he is still learning as he goes. And I think this is a learning experiment where he is basing his ideas and his decision on last year. He saw, they had multiple opportunities to get out of that closer spot. They had multiple. So when Clay Holmes started approaching Dave Righetti broken record status, that's when they finally were like, all right. But it took a while, Gary. We were talking about this in August. Not something that a World Series winning team normally has to deal with. They normally always have their closer, and it's cut and dry. But in August, the Yankees didn't have their closer. So I like this because we just saw Aaron Boone do something that you love to see any manager, coach, anybody learn from their mistakes, to your point. And I think that's what he's doing here. He's not saying that Devin Williams can never earn that job back. He's saying right now, I know he is not cut out for this job. That can change. And they're going to monitor. They're going to check out, the spin rate. They're going to see him in lower leverage situations. What I think ends up happening, Gary, is at some point or another, he probably ends up becoming the closer again for the Yankees. And I think he's going to get comfortable. But right now, this is the best possible move. I don't think they really had a choice unless they wanted to start losing games that, well, they've already done that. But unless they wanted to keep losing games that they dominated. And that's the reality of it. You can't lose a 4-1 game on the road where you dominate the whole game. Your starters give you length. It's a waste of a starting outing. And then the bullpen does a great job. And everyone does a great job until he comes up to the plate and, on the mound rather. But what I would say is the last thing here, Gary, the thing I sent you earlier today, I wanted to bring this up because we love our stats here on this show.
Sure do.
Yankees bullpen, shout out to Yes for the graphic here. 3.34 ERA combined. That is 9th in the major leagues. Devin Williams' ERA is 11.25 in 10. He has 10 earned runs in only 8 innings. And the ERA excluding Devin Williams, 26 earned runs in 89 innings. That's a 2.63 ERA. That would be one of the best, if not the best, in the league. And it just goes to show you right now, everyone's doing their part. Devin Williams hasn't been. So they make the move, and it's better to make it earlier than later.
Yeah, it's food poisoning for dessert, right? You can have a beautiful meal, and if you get sick at the end, the whole meal sucked. And that's sort of what it's been. Boone made a clear-cut decision. I thought it was the right one. So we have to give him credit. And Jordan Richard with the super, thank you so much for the 5, Jordan, says, I think Boone missed an opportunity to throw Devin Williams in the 10-1 lead and telling him to figure it out. Now, this is where I'm going to give you guys some level of bite back on some of the ideas of how we get this pitcher to return to form. I promise you guys, when you're learning to drive and your parents take you out on the road and you're just going to go down the road and all of a sudden your parents tell you, you know what, this is just freaking us the hell out. Why don't you practice now coming out the driveway and then just get out the car and then I'm going to drive, okay? That's not exactly the best way to get confidence in you as a driver. Just doesn't work, okay? Devin Williams is a closer. He's on this team to be one of the best arms that we've got. You don't just put them in the role of closer. Luke Weaver is going to be demoted. We're going to put you in that role, and then we're going to use him as this 7th, 8th inning hybrid guy. And then you don't pitch well for 8 innings of work, right? Which is still something, but we're going to pull you out of that. And not only are we not going to put you in that closer's role and you're out of it, you're going to pitch in like complete garbage time. That is the biggest smoke signal that we don't trust you worth a lick. Okay? And to some degree, Aaron Boone has a tough job here. He has to figure out a way, Jake, to put him in strong enough situations where you're still putting confidence in him, saying, I trust you with something, right? But you don't want to bite off too much where he can ruin a game. So that's my opinion on it, Jake. You simply cannot pull a struggling closer out of a game and say, hey, I still believe in all of this stuff going on with you, but why don't you go pitch garbage time in the 5th inning? It's really you saying he stinks. And I understand we don't want to put him in a situation of leverage, but man, I don't know if it works.
I love that you said that. I mean, isn't that like you're the guy in the office, you're the closer, right? Okay, you meet with the final client and you're the final meeting and you're the guy that gets it done. And it's like, yeah, you're not doing a good job. So we're going to have you work graveyard shift where you don't talk to a human being of any kind. You just do the paperwork. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I mean, you go from the CEO to all of a sudden you're going to be the guy who tells people where to park in the parking lot.
Yeah.
That can't happen, guys. Like,
no.
To some degree, we all agree here. There's no way Devin Williams is pitching high leverage, 9th inning, extra innings. We've got it. Okay? But to suggest that a guy's going to go from 9th inning to 5th inning, 6th, like that role that you saw Tyler Matzik in today, where he just gave up that rope laser extra base hit over Cody Bellinger's head. We all were watching the game like, and it's over Cody's head, and who cares? We're up 11-1.
Yeah.
No one cared.
No.
And that's not the time to build confidence. No one's building confidence at that point in the game. That's the point in the game where you just say, we deserve to be in this situation because we've earned this, and we're just going through the motions right now.
I agree. Ed W. with the super chat. We appreciate you, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
Great day at the stadium. Thank you for the 20. Great day at the stadium with the 9-year-old. Great solo, Gary. This feels different than Holmes. Williams seems broken since Alonso Homer. That's interesting. I've heard that a lot. Also, having a new baby may be affecting him. Seems Boone and Williams both recognize issue. Yeah. I mean, Gary, how much sleep did you get when you had your newborn?
You know what? I'm gonna say this. Obviously, you've got the money, you can get nannies and all types of stuff, but you don't want to minimize what a certain parent may be doing because not all parents are the same, regardless of their financial status.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this though, Jake. I'm not gonna say that it's necessarily about his situation because we have no idea.
Yeah, we don't.
Some players, they hit 10 home runs in a month, and then what do we see on Instagram from MLB? Dad power, dad strength, right? And then there's other dads where they'll come in as a closer, blow 3 or 4 saves, have an ERA of 11, and then suddenly it's, well, he's probably not sleeping. So I don't think we can just use it as like this a way to increase. And obviously, I don't think we're being serious here, but the point is that Devin Williams is just, based on what we saw last year, I think right now he's just not throwing enough strikes with the heater. That airbender, and I've talked about in our last episode, there's no such thing as an airbender. Okay? When you're behind in counts consistently, I don't care what you throw. You can have the nastiest breaking ball in the league. Look at our hitters as a perfect example as an inverse of that, and then we'll get to this next super chat. You see what Austin Wells did today at the plate. He was great. You see what Anthony Volpe did at the plate today, right? It was great. You saw pop off the bat. It seemed like we were working at bats. But when did this stuff actually occur? Did they just hit a random pitch and they're just reading a pitch? No. They got themselves in hitters counts. Austin Wells, that bases clearing double that everyone's talking about, does everyone remember what count it was? It was a 3-2 count. And Jake texted me and said, that's a way to work the at-bats. That's how you do it. Then you look at Anthony Volpe, right? Anthony Volpe finds himself in a 2-2 count, finds himself a heater right down the middle from Schultz, goes oppo for a bomb. If you watch the at-bat, he had done a beautiful job laying off pitches off the plate. He was clearly indicating, I'm not going for it. You're going to have to throw a fastball that's considered to be a pitch that can get me out, but I'm in a hitter's count now. Now you see the results. So it's not really a matter of how good of pitches are you making. It's when are you making those pitches, and are you behind or ahead in the count? And that's what I think Devin Williams' biggest problem is. He doesn't throw strikes early, and then later on he knows his best pitch is something he cannot throw right now. So now his airbender has to be an airbender into the strike zone. Is that really the pitch you want to throw? And you saw what it looked like last year. You're seeing bombs off the bat of Pete Alonso. It is a bomb. So, yeah, I completely agree.
And then Jeff J here, thank you for the 5. I really wish YouTube alerted me. Shout to YouTube. Keep doing this. Great 2-game sweep, especially some Max. Didn't have his ace stuff. I love that he said that. We'll get to that. Should have been a 3-game statement, though. I agree. Just because I was covering the draft doesn't mean I didn't go back, rewatch that, then watch Gary to lose that game. And I felt bad for you because
it was so on brand.
It is so on brand. Next year when I'm doing the draft and you have to cover for me, it'll just be another walk. It's always a walk-off. I went back last year. Apparently, it happened twice. Milwaukee. It was like,
was it Milwaukee and Oakland?
Oakland and Milwaukee.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you're like, you text me, you're like, I hate everything. This was the worst baseball game I've ever seen.
It's terrible, especially when you're by yourself, because it feels like a funeral. You turn it on, you're like, do I even want to hit the record button? And sure enough, we made a commitment before the season started. We're doing a show every day. And obviously barring sickness or whatever. Yeah. But if we can do it, we do. And we just pray these games are going to go well. Like today, perfect day. Starter shows exactly why we believe. And I actually want to switch this conversation to Max Fried because I think he deserves it.
Yes.
And you look up and you see 5-0 record, ERA below 2, and you look up and say, well, the guy hardly got touched at all today. He must have just been completely dominant, to which I would describe it's not at all how it happened. It was an outing of resolve, and I think that's really what creates somebody to be an ace or a very good pitcher. There are a lot of very good pitchers in this sport, not very many aces. They just throw money around like no one's business. They throw $180 million. I don't want to mention Carlos Rodon or a lot of other guys in this league, but people throw that term ace because of stuff, right? And location, spin, all this different stuff. But what really makes someone an ace? If they can show up to the field, just like we've seen Garrett Cole do time and time again. Oh man, doesn't have that slider today. Doesn't have that fastball location today. And then all of a sudden you look up at the scoreboard and you say, man, he really limited the damage there in the first inning. And he's found his way back into this outing. It's exactly what Max Fried did. By the 3rd or 4th inning, he had cemented himself as a factor in the game all of a sudden. And that's something that I was proud of. And it's something that I think we can rely on. So it'll be interesting because if you notice, when you get into a postseason game, you don't get to do these games over. But what happens if Fried shows up, Jake, doesn't have his stuff in a game 1 or a game 7 of a World Series potentially, right? We know he has the long-term experience in terms of what he's doing with us to suggest he's going to fix it on the fly. So I love that about this player. Obviously, 2 or 3 Ks, 2 walks, 3 Ks, nothing crazy, but ace-like mentality got us through this one.
No, I definitely agree with that. And I think what I was going to say, and I'm really glad that Jeff J brought it up, is the way I see it is he finishes 6 innings, right? Gives up 6 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Obviously, we've talked about it. Would rather him not strike out anybody and just generate that soft contact and get through 7 innings. So the strikeouts don't bother me. It's funny because he ends up with I thought it was a pretty good outing, but you could easily see this is not his knockout, drag-out stuff. And he was not, he did not have his A game. But you know what? A really underrated element to the guys that are the best in the league at what they do, it's they can find a way to get through a start or to get through a game. Let's say Aaron Judge at the plate, showed up at the ballpark, just doesn't feel like himself, but he finds a way to get the ball in play, put a runner on, knock in a run, walk, that's the thing. As a pitcher, Max Fried, you didn't have your best stuff. He found ways to just dig it out, right? And you end up coming away with a win here, and a win that you have a double header. Do you know how important it is to not use your bullpen? He basically made it so they only needed to use 2 guys. Now, you could say what you will. Of course, the offense helped. I'm not saying it didn't. But 1 earned run in 6 innings, that's just what the doctor ordered for the Yankees. And I'm ready to talk about the bats because 11 runs, man.
I know you have to. I don't know if you've seen it already. I want to get to this super chat first from Apex. Apex, thank you so much for the 2. Says demoting Devin gives me hope Boone wants to win a World Series bat. I would say it's a given that everyone in this business that works for the Yankees, they desperately want to win because it gets you off the hook permanently. You win once, you're a legend. I bring this up all the time, Jake. CC Sabathia, we consider him this winner and all this, right? He won one time with the Yankees, and rightfully so. I consider him a winner as well. It goes to show you winning once here makes you a legend, okay? Hideki Matsui, another example. So Apex, yeah, I would say that this shows that Boone understands the importance of games in April, just like they're going to be in August, September, and October. They're all important, so don't throw any away the way we did last year. He learned from it. I thought that was good. And this super chat from Ed W. Jake, I want you to read it because you text me and you brought it up before we went live. This point, go ahead, partner.
Gary, I don't know what Boone was thinking here. So, on one hand, I want to give Boone a lot of credit for the Devin Williams thing. On the other, and I know they swept him, but this was just weird. This is a weird micromanagey type of move. Ed W., I love that you brought this up because I wasn't going to bring it up for the sake of kind of keeping the vibes happy. They just had a double header that they swept.
We'll keep this short. Yeah.
But Ed W., thank you for the 5. Worst Boone move, sub Rice for Goldie, causing struggling pitcher to be pulled with bases loaded. Fried was a pro grinding. Schmidt needs to throw strikes. So the worst Boone move, one of the worst Boone moves I've ever seen, and I love Goldschmidt, but I do not understand for the life of me Ben Rice getting pinch hit for with the bases loaded. Okay, his batting average has gone down to 268. It's also because it's early in the season and you have like 2 or 3 bad games and you can plummet from 300 down to what we're talking about.
Sure.
This guy still is in the top 10 in OPS though. Okay, top 10 in OPS. And he has a 561 slugging. You take him out with the bases loaded? I just don't get that because you just let Cabrera hit right before. It's like, why would you let Cabrera hit and not let Rice hit? That was insane. I'm sorry. That was insane. I don't know what the logic was. My only question was this, and of course this didn't happen in this game. It was the next game. But my only question is, did he do that because he saw Ben Rice had played a lot today? He played catcher to end the first game, and he wanted to take the load off him and felt like while doing that, I have a guy that's playing first base. Goldschmidt hasn't played the whole second game, and if there was a better hitter than Rice at the dish with the bases loaded and Judge, of course, can't come up, it's Goldschmidt. So, like, I don't have an issue with it being Goldschmidt, but I just feel like there was a lot of things there where you're like, what in the hell is he doing? Like, I mean, what if that game goes to extras? I don't have Ben Rice now in my lineup. So, I don't know.
Okay. So
that was how I felt.
No, and I think that's justified. Now, obviously, no one wants to see Ben Rice come out of a game, okay? Other than maybe Boone in this situation. But if I had to give you my real answer, my raw answer as to why Aaron Boone decided to do this, I think he just looked at it simply and said, Ben Rice is 0 for 7 today, okay? And that somehow is going to weigh into my decision. He's not swinging a hot bat today. Paul Goldschmidt did in game 1. And then game 2, we're going to sit Goldschmidt because he's 37, he's 38 later this year. And we may be able to time up an at-bat, especially for a hitter that doesn't maybe have it going today. And I don't like that decision. I see the logic as to why it happened, but that doesn't mean I have to like it. I just don't. I think in general, you just have to buy in to players having ebbs and flows with their season, and you don't need to take them off when they're going into a slight decline for the day, okay? Because I don't enjoy that. You can watch Aaron Judge. You can watch, even in history, right? Miguel Cabrera, Albert Pujols. There are going to be days where you watch their first 3 at-bats and you say, well, I don't really like the type of at-bats they're taking. They don't really look like themselves. And obviously Ben Rice is not in that level. But the point here is that at the beginning of the season, Aaron Boone just simply trusts Ben Rice to just take those lefty on lefty at-bats. And what happened? You saw positive results. And then now all of a sudden you're going to look up and say, well, his last 7 games, he's hitting 143. There's a lefty coming up. That lefty happened to be struggling, by the way. I saw it in the chat. 100% struggling to find the zone as well. And you take Ben Rice, a player who was 0 for 7 for the day, out of the game, given what he's done for you all year, I just leave him in there and expect Ben Rice to come through. I get going for the matchup. I understand it. We brought Goldschmidt on this team to do damage against lefties. This is that situation. But sometimes you do have to read the room. Maybe perhaps you're doing a little bit too much. And I don't want to harp on it and go too long about it. I just didn't like it in the moment. It's something that I wanted to touch on.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we did, and like totally understand the rationale behind it. It just felt very micromanagey to me. And the last thing I would say is this. I know he had a really good day today. We'll talk about him. We'll give him his praise. But if that was Anthony Volpe 0 for 7 for the day, he doesn't take out Volpe. And so to me, I don't know. What does Ben Rice have to do to get into that kind of like upper echelon, on the roster? He should already be there. But on the roster right now, Boone just told us he doesn't view him in the same level as Judge and like the guys that you don't take out of a lineup. Like, and that's what I didn't like. I don't like, for the same reason that you don't want to pitch Devin Williams in the 5th inning, I don't want to take Ben Rice out of the 6th inning with the bases loaded and pinch hit for him. I thought that was a bad move. But
yeah.
Do
you want to move on to the Clark Schmidt start? Because obviously the dude gave up one hit.
Yeah, well, I wanted to, on the first game, I wanted to give a shout-out to Anthony Volpe. Both games he played well.
Yes, he did.
I thought the opposite field home run was a really good sign. I want to keep seeing that, but I really liked what we saw there. Cabrera slugging, right? Liked that. And then the Wells double was huge, but this was kind of like a teamwork thing with Gausman because he ends up leaving the game, in the middle of the 2nd inning or 3rd inning with 71 pitches.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think people understand they batted around, but they bat around because of how patient. This team all of a sudden turned into the team that we thought they were last year when Juan Soto was there. It was like, oh, yeah, they have this new approach because Juan Soto's rubbing off on them. I feel like maybe we were kind of over-analyzing, which is normal. It happens. But this was a game where it felt like Juan Soto was back in that lineup and was like, wow, all these guys are leading by example and they're all taking a lot of pitches and they're not. It was the most patient I've seen the Yankees in a long time. I mean, these type of games, I remember just pitching and, just Babe Ruth and travel and all that. These are the worst type of games for a pitcher because when a batter does not care and they are not going to swing unless it's their pitch, I mean, you could be on the mound what feels like forever. So these were not fun games for me as a pitcher. You get a guy that, like, even if it's like right around the strike zone, I'm not swinging it. It's not my pitch. And that was the Yankees today. They just refused in that game 1. They would not swing at anything. And then it would force Gausman to throw in the zone like we were talking about. And you get Austin Wells and he crushes that double, bases clearing. And it's also a reminder, you don't need to swing for the fences because that double was just as good, almost just as good as a grand slam. And that really ended the game right then and there.
Yeah, is it safe to say you don't have to swing to be a good hitter? Like I think
it's very safe to say. It's
safe to say. If you watch Juan Soto, right, and Juan played for us the entirety of last season, and we talked about how, it's impacting the at-bats of Ben Rice, or it's impacting the at-bats of Cabrera and Volpe, and these guys are showing patience they never showed before. He doesn't swing very often.
No.
And people call him a generational talent. Why? Because it's difficult not to swing. Hard.
Yeah.
You know why, guys? You can watch someone hit, And in this game, in a moment's notice, you could take one swing in an entire stadium, 50,000 people are cheering for your name. And that's the way it is. You could be a hero in a span of 0.8 of a second in this game. Not very often. There's not many sports where that exists. It does here. So these young players specifically, Ben Rice, Volpe, Wells, certain guys who have had a ton of ebbs and flows, all young players do. But the difference between veterans and young players usually is their play discipline. It's not really talent. It's figuring out when do I swing, when not to. And I don't always have to swing just because it's a strike. That's not how this game works. I need to put a ball in play that I can do something with. And I talked about it earlier. You see the game plan, they talked about it all day with Ben Rice. Clearly the game plan is throwing him breaking balls. Well, my first thought is, well, I guess you don't really have to hit those breaking balls. Those pitches that they keep throwing you, breaking balls more than half the time are balls. They're not inside the strike zone. They're intended to be chase pitches, off-speed pitches from the fastball, which you're supposed to be timing up. Well, how about we do a better job of seeing breaking balls or understanding when those might be coming? You take those pitches, and we did that very well today. Anthony Volpe was excellent at that today. He laid off a lot of breaking balls, really nipping the corners. He let them go. And that's a difference of something we've seen for the past 2 weeks. Now, to be fair, we're giving him his credit today. This has to continue. Not every day, but more times than not, you need to look up and say Anthony Volpe is not he's not swinging at pitches that would be considered pitcher's pitches. If he's doing that consistently, you're going to look up and say, well, he's hitting 200 again. The only way you get out of that is by waiting for pitches that you can actually do a damn thing with. And that's something that a lot of our offense did today. And it looks really good when you do it. So I understand some of the frustrations of the young players and saying there's too many ebbs and flows, or sometimes, those ebbs are lasting a little bit too long. Well, stop swinging at pitchers' pitches. It's much easier said than done, but it's the job. It's a tough job. You got to do it. So I completely agree. I see a super here. Jordan Richard with a super. Thank you for the 5. Says Belly struggling, but important ABs for him tonight. We saw the sack fly. There it is. Love the clutch sack fly and approach, changing on 2 strikes. He understands the assignments.
And so
Jake,
do our
what'd
viewers.
You think right.
What
did you think about those at-bats? Because obviously Cody Bellinger, he's one of those grinder type of at-bats where it can look really good when he times up a line drive into the right field seats, but some of those emergency hacks and fly balls out to left field, which are somewhat intended, they look ugly, but at times can be effective. What do you think about Bellinger? Because right now, it's clear his timing is off. There's no question. We saw some hard contact today, which is good. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Bellinger got his batting average back up to 200. I know that sounds bad. Yeah, I know. Now, it fell back down to 191 the next game. I know. But he got up to 200 in that first game. I thought Bellinger, I think Volpe and Jazz Chisholm and Austin Wells, the guys who have been struggling, they all looked really good, I thought. I all thought they had a completely different approach, more patient. I thought their swings made more sense. And I thought it was more situational hitting, and I think it's what led to essentially you get, 5 2-out RBIs? That's really impressive there. So love seeing that. And that's kind of how I feel, is that I wouldn't just say it was Bellinger. I'd say these other guys are stepping up. We move on to the next game, though, Gary. And it's so funny. I kept hearing before the game, Chris Bassett hasn't given up. I was like, Trent Bonds is going yard.
You text me right away.
And boom. I was like, you can't be serious. But yeah, by the way, I do think Grisham's here to stay. Is Grisham going to slug like he's Barry Bonds? No. But I think he's going to be around a 250 batting average or higher this year. I think there's kind of this ownership that Boone has instilled in him, and I think we've seen it at the plate. He looks much more confident at the plate. He had 2 walks today. I don't know why he didn't play both games. That was kind of weird, but he played 1 game, and he had 2 walks today, and he had a home run. And I just think his approach at the plate is fun because he either mashes it or he's going to make you throw a million pitches and take his walk. So I love watching Grisham. Ben Rice probably wants today to not have happened, but, it did. Judge, I thought he had a really nice hit. And then I was really impressed with Volpe, Dominguez, and JC Escara, who had his first ever home run in the major leagues, which thank God, because the guy the Yankees traded over to I sent you that.
Oh, Augustin Ramirez? Yeah, he's just raking.
Oh, my goodness.
To be fair, that's not for the Yankees, but
No.
that swing was spectacular. It's one swing, but congratulations. But, again, Jake, those bleachers were empty. Tell me this man got that ball. You cannot tell me.
I don't know if he did.
They haven't let us know if he got that baseball. And it was the second game of a doubleheader. There's no way that they didn't go give him that baseball. If you don't, the one pet peeve I've got in this sport is just all we do to not give these players a souvenir. I can't believe that guys, he did get it. Okay, great. See, That's
Awesome.
good news right there. Thank you, Sierra, we appreciate it. And
I
it
got
was in the
Judge,
post-game
by the way,
interview.
confused with the first game. Judge had a home run in the second game.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
When you have a doubleheader, guys, I'm sorry, but it's like brain salad. Like you're trying to remember what happened in each game. And I'm not like just staring at a box score either. I'm just looking at my notes right now. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like,
so I'm happy for the kid. I don't know how old he is exactly, but happy for him to get
30.
your first. He's 30. Oh, wow. I shouldn't call him a kid then. He's damn near my age. But congratulations on your first bomb. Very tough to get up to the league. You did it. So I'm happy he got that baseball. That should be a souvenir in the TV room for the rest of your life. That's one. And that swing was looking good. I've got to say, his swing looks good.
That was a
Maybe
Carlos
swings.
Gonzalez mic drop type of bat drop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a bomb. It was no cheapie. Because the last
love
thing you
that.
want is I don't know, maybe you don't care, but a Yankee Stadium cheapie, and that's on TV. But that was a bomb. That's a home run anywhere. So congratulations. And
Yeah.
I thought it was perfect kind of what we did today with Game 2's lineup. I thought it made sense. You had no Paul Goldschmidt to start the game. He's 37, right? Escara, even though Wells played well in Game 1, no Wells in Game 2, back-to-back, right? Doubleheader. I thought all of that made sense. Clark Schmidt started this game, goes 5 innings, 1 earned run, 4 walks. Didn't have his command, which is so weird, Jake. It is so strange to see it. No, he has not.
He has not had it since he came back from the injury, but he gave up 1 hit. It was a home run. How many times have we said that this year? Yeah, he gave up 1, 2 hits, gave up a home run. The rest of the game, he was totally fine.
Feels like 5 times with Rodon, but look at our bullpen. Hill, Leiter Jr., Cruz, Weaver. 4 innings total between all those guys. 2 hits, a donut in terms of the earned runs.
Inning. I mean, this dude threw 16 pitches and struck out the side.
Yeah.
Think about that, right? That's only 7 more pitches than what you would need to strike out a side. Like the bare minimum is 9. So that's, he looks great. And then Fernando Cruz, can you believe he got screwed on that?
Well, no, but how about he's throwing splitters in the middle of the zone and dudes are swinging over the top of it? Like, he actually threw a splitter today. I don't know if you guys caught that. It was right down the middle, and it's still hard to hit. This is baseball.
Yeah.
But it looked like Wii baseball. Do you ever just play Wii baseball against a buddy and they throw the splitter? And then you all agreed we're not throwing the splitter anymore? That's what Cruz's splitter looks like. It is incredible. So that's all I got to say about it. It was great. Bullpen was sensational today. Our starting pitching, it was a grind fest. It wasn't this dominant performance, but by the time you look up, it's quality, and then you got your bullpen shutting it down. So we did our thing.
Yeah, I think Cruz is just a lot of fun to watch. I was really annoyed, though, that, because, think about it. You already had a guy on first. That could have been a little bit of a problem, with 3-2 count. He clearly strikes him out on the last pitch. They say that he tipped it. Dude, he did not tip that ball. That was insane. That wasn't even close. They missed that. But
I'll accept it when we sweep the day.
Yeah, no, I like that he came back, and of course Weaver was excellent. But the Yankees are in a really good position right now. You know, they needed these 2 wins. Obviously, they lost a really tough one. And, you know, an interesting thing when I was talking to my father about that is, like, you can't let that win cost you 5 moving forward, because those type of losses beat you up. When you miss out on that, that's how these teams go on the really bad skids we're talking about. Gary, it happened last year when the Yankees were losing games because Clay Holmes was costing them games that they clearly dominated the whole time, and he was doing it multiple times, and now it's like it really kind of sucks the air out of the clubhouse. So love to see that. Tomorrow, 6:35, God knows why. It should be 7 something. But anyway, 6:35 Eastern time. The Yankees have the weirdest homestand, 3 games, and they head to Baltimore. So they are playing in Baltimore. They're going up against Tomoyuki Sugano, and Will Warren is on the mound against him. Warren has had some good moments. He's had some bad moments, but I feel good about tomorrow. Sugano, I've never heard of. He's 2-1 with a 3.54 ERA, 1.14 WHIP.
I know one thing about this guy. He gives up more contact than a damn eye doctor. He 28 innings pitch. He has 9 Ks. Okay, so just so if you guys want to know what you're gonna see tomorrow, doesn't mean you're gonna blow the doors off. Is still a good pitcher in this league. He's 35. Not gonna overpower you. There's gonna be a lot of contact, and we've seen what this looks like. Cookie starting for us. You've seen successful outings, but it doesn't look like 10 Ks. That's what this guy's trying to do. So the Yankees have to be patient, and he'll put you in a situation where you could do damage. You need to do it.
Orioles are a weird team this year, man. They're off to a horrible start, 10-17. They're not a good home team. The Yankees are actually a above 500 road team. They got Carlos Rodon in game 2. Where are the Orioles at, Gary? They don't even know who's pitching game 2. That's what we're talking about right now. Game 3,
Good for them.
it's Cade Povich, who's not having a good year at all. You think the previous guy, Sugano, gave up contact. He's given up 34 hits in 25 innings. So that's a good matchup for the Yankees. Cookie's on the mound against Povich in that game 3. But, so that's the end of it. There's a 3-game set, and then the Yankees host the Rays, and I believe the A's as well, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to look at that. But point being, they have a weird, road pit stop after having a 3-game set with Toronto, and then they host your mom's team. They host the Padres.
Oh, that's a bummer. They're not in San Diego.
I know.
It's a bummer.
So Tampa and San Diego are the next series, and then they go to the A's and then Seattle. So they go that West Coast trip. But yeah, it should be interesting. I mean, Baltimore, it's early in the season, but Gary, if you're a Baltimore Orioles fan, you have to be thinking, you got to win 2 out of 3 in this series against the Yankees. I mean, it's not looking good early on.
No, they should. I mean, you are seeing Warren, right? So they're not. It's not like they're going to be overpowered. Now Warren has shown us some stuff. He's shown us some ebbs and flows, typical.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're 10-17, you're sitting in 5th in the AL East. Yeah, it does. And obviously they expected Holiday to have a bigger role at this point. He's still hitting 9th, right? Not having a terrible year, but they expected more than this. Henderson's playing atrocious, hitting like 225. I guess the point is they need these games. The Yankees need to show up and put the pedal to the metal, right? Boston's still only 2 games back. It's early, so we shouldn't necessarily be staring at the standings, but some of these teams behind us are going to get hot. Some of them are going to start getting outs, and these games are going to start to really matter. So I want them to take care of business as usual, but I'm curious. We're not going to do a movie tonight. I want to know what you guys think about Boone making that decision right away to get Devin Williams out of there. I'm assuming it's positive, but do you put Luke Weaver back there as the closer? I probably do, and surrender that multi-inning role. I know people can say, well, he can throw the 8th and 9th. Perhaps that could be a way that you want to use him. Let us know who you think the closer should be or what the Yankees should do at the back end of this bullpen.
Yeah, I think that's going to do it, Gary. It's been a fun episode. We covered 2 games. I missed doubleheaders. I think we did a couple shows last year for doubleheaders. They had a few, but yeah, that's going to do it. I believe we got the super chats. Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
So yeah, drop that in the comments section below, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
And subscribe and like this video.